Welcome everyone. Today we have another very important sessions on climate finance. Even though like we have before the show, we arrange a class for students in School of Talent Economy. We know many of our information, especially on climate finance, what actually supporting by the developed nations. They provide this money to the United Nations. United Nations also distributed this finance for the climate change related projects, human resource development, gender issue solving, and many more things. This kind of informations and this kind of relevant things actually not in public, but we are trying to engage with the grassroots level peoples, and we are trying to engage with these sessions. And we have our expert panelists, especially Mr. Paul. He is a climate change activist. We have our two core members. One is Mr. James Eid. He already joined in World Talent Economy Forum core team, and Mr. JF already joined in World Talent Economy Forum core team, because we already start our undergraduate, masters, and PhD program according to my commitment. Because 1 year before, 1 year, 2 months before when I started, I said that our major problem is our knowledge. So we will start our academic activities soon. So with Paris graduate schools, we started our undergraduate, masters, and PhD program. So the academicians and the people, like speaker, those who want to train our student, they can. And especially Mr. James Eid, Mr. Jeeves, and our core team, they are helping to get reach to the grassroots level people in the developing nations. This way, actually, this think tank, we are trying to make it more meaningful, more corporation joining with World Talent Economy Forum, because they are producing more job for our youth communities, and we are engaging with government. Yes, they have different kind of policy and other things, but with our core strategy, we are helping to developing nations government to make a better policy. We have our expert panelist, Professor Paul. So how do you want to analyze today's topic? And especially climate finance is very important, but this is, I want to say, uh, many young communities, policy, even the policymaker, corporation, they do not know much about climate finance, how it works, how it can helpful for their community. If you give a detailed explanations on that particular point.
Yes, thank you, Sharif. I'll keep this very short so that we can get the input from everybody, sort of, rather than one monologue. um, I think the key, one key aspect that would be earth changing would be, I would say the money's all available, and it's going to fossil fuel companies right now to subsidize oil and gas removal. So, many governments around the world have said that they will stop financing fossil fuel companies. Well, all they need to do is shift that money that goes to fossil fuel companies and now shift it to go to fighting climate change, for adaptation measures, for researching technologies to remove carbon from the atmosphere, and scaling them up and deploying them, and public campaigns about how serious climate change is. I mean, we all know, just look at the flooding in Germany, just look at the heat waves in North America, and those are directly related because the jet stream goes around the Earth, and it's got these crests and then these troughs, and then crests and troughs around the Earth. And the crest that went over North America and caused this massive heat dome, killing many people, bringing record high temperatures to Canada. We hit almost 50 degrees Celsius in Canada, 49.6. We set records in a small town in British Columbia on the Monday. Then it was broken on the Tuesday, on the Wednesday, and then on the Thursday, the town disappeared in fire, went up in smoke. Followed that jet stream around the Earth, and there's a dip over the Atlantic, and then a crest again, and then another dip over Europe. So the dip over Europe, the trough over Europe, caused extreme weather events, caused torrential rains, filled up all of the rivers, and took out towns in Germany, in the Netherlands, also in Belgium, maybe, even some in the Czech Republic. I mean, the German ones have been disclosed mostly. And then continue following that jet stream over to China, and we had also very massive storms and massive tornadoes going through some major cities in China. And you can continue this around and see disasters, on like ongoing, real time, simultaneous disasters around the planet because the jet stream is so wavy and stuck in place. And that's because the Arctic ice is disappearing. The Arctic is warming at incredible temperatures, and that decreases the temperature difference to the equator, which means that the jet streams slow down and become wavier. So because the jet stream guides storms and it's slowing down, these massive storms are, giving torrential rains, that they're not being moved along the surface of the earth to other locations. They're going much slower. They're getting stuck in place. So we get torrential rains in one location, massive flooding, and we get drought and heat waves in another location. And the crops in North America this year, on the West North America part of North America, are failing in both the US and Canada. So in the US, the spring wheat crop has essentially failed, extremely low yields. In farms in Saskatchewan and Alberta, the heat wave has basically shriveled up the crops in the fields. And the harvesters it's not even worth it for those harvester machines to go out and try to get some crop, some result. They're just giving up. So this is going to hit food prices very soon. We're going to be in a global food crisis and famine soon. So it's So we're talking about climate finance. We don't have a choice. Okay, the world is being hammered by abrupt climate change, extreme weather events, and we need to shift the money to fighting this problem and not to making the problem worse. Right now, the subsidization of fossil fuels is like, it's just killing us, right? I mean, we're spending all this money for something that's destroying us. We need to shift that money over to climate finance. And then, other industries won't even notice the difference, right? The money's already there. It's just being spent on making the problem worse than on stopping the problem. Like, it's insanity. It's a definition of insanity.
Thank you. Mr. Jamsid, so how do you want to analyze this climate change related issue, especially climate finance, how it will be helpful and how it works? And beside that, if you share your views, because already you joined World Talent Economy Forum core team, how you want to contribute for the global community.
Thank you, Sharif. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you, Paul, for a nice setup. What we're talking about is millions, not millionaires, and we need to focus on that. This is a global problem. This isn't happening to one country or the other. This is happening to everybody, and that we're all in this together. So we need to change our perspective and not think so much about my state, my country, my nationality, but in terms of Homo sapiens, we are the same species, and we are being threatened by an extinction level event. That is global climate change. And if you think I'm being melodramatic, I am not. I am telling you what's going on. And part of our problem of getting the proper financing is that there are global climate deniers. There are people that think it's a hoax. And there are leaders around the world who will tell you that it is a hoax. So we need to change our leaders. And if you have the ability to cast a vote for someone who's telling you the truth, who's not a denier. And there are also people who will tell you, and they're very smart people, I'm not saying they're stupid, they're very smart people who are saying climate change always happens. It's happened before humans, it will happen after humans. But this is a begging the question type of viewpoint, because the question is man impacting climate change? And the answer is yes. Since the dawn of the industrial age, man has had an impact, and it has gotten worse. It has accelerated. The impact of mankind on climate has reached a point almost of no return. And I am not being melodramatic. We are approaching the point of no return, where no matter what we do, it will spiral out of effect, and we will lack the ability to change it back so that it's habitable. And Paul said it exactly right. He was seeing the change in the jet stream. And these waves, these troughs, these valleys, what they are causing are extreme weather patterns. I didn't even know the term heat dome until recently. You know, I thought of heat waves. You know, the heat wave would come and it would go. And, you know, we would have thunderstorms or something to cool us off periodically. But sustained heat has dramatic impact. It costs lives. Because if you can't cool off at night, and you just end up being dead, not suffering, dead. So this is a dramatic problem. And what we're talking about in terms of the, you know, we're talking about the extreme weather patterns. We're talking about droughts. We're talking about floods. We're talking about wildfires. We're talking about hurricanes. We're talking about things that are devastating. People's lives are lost. Entire villages no longer exist. Entire towns no longer exist. They have been burned to the ground. People have been flooded out of their homes. There are pictures of them shoveling mud and water out of their first floor homes. And this is not something that we're making up. This is something that is happening and across the globe. The Pacific Northwest used to be one of the thought was the Pacific Northwest is the place to be because it's always rainy there. Well, they have an unprecedented drought, and it's affecting Northern California, where I live. Grapes make wine, and we are famous. The Napa Valley wine region is famous for its wine. Well, and especially if you're a red wine drinker, look out, because the heat has destroyed the red wine industry, because red wine is made from the skin of the grapes. White wine might survive better, but red wine, the grapes are shriveling. The grapes' skins are smoky because of the wildfires. So the red wines do not taste like they used to. And this is an amazingly large economy that is being severely affected. They're losing their ability to grow grapes, and grapes produce wine. So we're going to be in a, you know, instead of the riches of Napa Valley bringing out some of the best red wines in the world, they're just not going to be producing them. We have almond growers in California who used to sell almonds, and almonds were water intensive. In a drought condition, they found they can't grow almonds anymore, and what they are selling is their water rights. So water now has value. Water is, you can purchase water. And the thing is that we're fed, what Paul said is absolutely right. Instead of subsidizing the fossil fuel industries, subsidize those things that are green in nature that can make a difference so that we can avert. And I think we needed to start yesterday, and today might be too late. And don't even talk to me about tomorrow. We've got to do it now. We have got to take action now. And that means funneling the money that used to go to things that poison us, toxins, and into things that will help us breathe the air that we take for granted. Grow the grapes that we take for granted. Harvest the crops that we eat, that we take for granted, because they are going away. They are being destroyed by drought conditions. Homes are being flooded. In different, whether it's a crest or a trough, it doesn't really matter in terms of the destructive nature of this. Lives are being changed. Lives are being changed for the entire rest of their existence. So businesses that thrived are going out of business. This is the effects of climate change. So stop. And taxpayers, and if you are in a tax-paying society, taxpayers resent paying the money to the governments, but the governments take that money and they funnel it to the UN, and then they can say, where is the emergency? Let's take action where it is needed. And let's not just take the money and divide it up equally among different countries. No, it's an emergency. So we have a program in the United States called FEMA. It's an emergency, so that when there's a drought, when there's a flood, when there's a hurricane, we pour our resources into that. Yet people resent that use of that money because they're fine where they are right now. So this is a struggle. This is why this is a fight. Start with yourself. Convince yourself that you can do something about this. You're not powerless here. You can cast a vote if you can, or you can influence those around you. Influence those in your sphere of influence and allow them to influence others, and who knows when it'll stop. But if you get one voice, it's not going to matter. If you get a million voices, and a million voices influencing a million other voices, then you have something, and then you can affect society, you can change society. So take it responsibility for yourself first, your community second, and who knows where it will end. But we can't wait. We must start, we must act now. And it is a fight. There will be resistance and forces against you. And do not despair. You can overcome. Thank you, Sharif. Thank you for this important topic.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Jeff, I come to you. Before that, I just want to share a few specific informations from United Nations, because we are creating awareness through our session. Especially we are sharing information as much as possible. So for UN, especially just for the Paris Agreement, according to Paris Agreement, UN actually trying to help the developing nations. But UN-backed International Climate Fund, as this is more information which will be helpful for grassroots level. Countries recognize the need for specific climate financing in the Paris Agreement. I think Professor Paul, if you analyze some point on Paris Agreement, it will be helpful for our audience. The legally binding treaty adopted by the international community in December 2015. So UN actually helping for the climate finance. Beside that, it calls the market finance flow consistent with a pathway towards low greenhouse gas emission and climate resilient development. Also, the financing different times for CIF, Climate Investment Fund. It's around $8 billion. Green Climate Finance, set up by UNFCCC in 2010. Adaptation Fund, the fund has committed soon $830 million since 2010. Global Environment Facilities, GEF aims to catalyze transformational change is the key system that are driving major environmental loss. Different times, actually, even Clean Technology Fund, UN have, it's around $5.4 billion for empowering transformation in developing countries by providing resource to scale up low carbon technologies. So this specific point, if you analyze with our audience, maybe it will be helpful for them, even it will be helpful for their innovation and research. I come to Professor Paul, but before that, I just want to take some views from my friend, Mr. Jeff. He is also joined in World Talent Economy Forum core team. So, Mr. Jeff, how are you, and how do you want to analyze this climate finance, and what is your views?
Yeah, good morning, hey guys. So, honestly, realistically, the only solutions are for, like you're saying, grassroots people to begin taking care of their own agriculture, because right now there's too many people in the world for large scale agriculture to work anymore. Like that's what we were doing, but now there's too many people and it's got us into it. So realistically, the only solutions are for to use all that money on incentivization for people to, grow their own food and take care of their own energy, research into that. Yeah, and just smarter solutions and large scale agriculture, because it just can't work anymore at the scale to feed everyone. And it just creates problems. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Professor Paul, I think you have some great analysis on climate financing, especially UN initiative. We know developed nations actually contributing through United Nations. But our objective is that how it can be more helpful for developing nations grassroots level. We know government is very important. We are not outside of the government. But with this analysis, we want to create awareness to the grassroots level people. That how it can be helpful for their life changing, and how they can utilize this kind of financing for solving this climate change?
Well, yes. One of the things, it's very hard to change something if you can't measure it and determine the level of the contribution, for example, of the greenhouse gases to the atmosphere, on a country scale, but even on a city scale and region and city scale. So, some cities will put up a lot more greenhouse gases, whether it be CO2 or methane or nitrous oxide or things like that. So we have the ability with more advanced technologies on satellites, different sensors that go on satellites, and there's many ways to launch them now into space, as we're seeing with the competition for getting up into space. Each of these companies working on it can bring up sensors, and we can have these very small, tiny satellites with instrumentation to do a specific task. So, though, I'm talking about, we can measure all the way up through the atmospheric column. We can measure the levels of, say, CO2 or methane or nitrous oxide. And if we have very, very fine resolution in the data, we're like, and that depends on the swath of the satellite is measuring. Like, it's always a trade-off. If a sensor measures over a wide area, the resolution is poor, but you get information on a very large area. And if the swath of detection is very narrow, then you can actually pinpoint sources of say methane or CO2. So measuring that, you can the satellite can be overhead and determine, say, how much methane is coming from a particular factory, say in the Alberta tar sands, for example, or a factory within a given city, anywhere in the world with enough coverage. And once you know exactly where the CO2 and methane and nitrous oxide are coming from, you can then work, and it's very uneven distribution. I mean, a lot of it is coming from very small regions, small physical spatial regions, and specific companies, for example. And then you can use the technologies. If you know exactly where it's coming from, then you can cut it down, and you don't have to rely on what company or what people say. You can actually measure it and enforce that it be reduced. And if you do this on a worldwide basis, you can make a large impact in reducing the source of these emissions. So I think at the grassroots level, the biggest influence can be the grass level people. You can do your own things personally, but I think collectively you need to ensure that the governments that you voted for, your leaders, are aware of are actually completely aware and have no choice but to do the do the correct thing in terms of reducing the pollution, reducing the contributors of climate change, because you just vote them out or you embarrass them publicly. So it's grassroots organization that can apply tremendous pressure, and a lot of it is also through education, because you need to educate the masses, educate the public, so that onto how severe the problem is, first of all. And many people are having climate change consequences affecting and ripping their lives apart, or just affecting them in other ways, raising prices of materials or whatever it is. So it's in their best interest and in the interest of governments to to tackle these problems. So being able to measure how bad the things are, measure the root of the problem, and convey that information to governments and put pressure on governments to do the right thing. I think that's all part of the equation. And I really have to, governments are supposed to protect people, and traditionally they've built up large militaries to do that. And the military is totally impotent to address climate change and to address, wildfires and things like that. So the biggest threats to humanity, the biggest threats to individuals and cities is climate change. It's ripping things apart in all kinds of countries. It's threatening global food shortages. So the military role needs to be changed. How about a military to fight climate change, as being one of their priorities? The U.S. military has a mandate: fight climate change. It's going to destroy the country, right? So they change the mission statements of militaries around the world. And first of all, it will lead to, it'll go a long way to reducing aggression from one country against another. But it will start addressing the adaptation and mitigation problems. That money that goes to the military should now be used to figure out how to deploy carbon dioxide, ways to capture carbon dioxide on the planet. Right. So it's just a redirection of things to meet the problems that we have, and that problem is abrupt climate change.
Mhm. Yes, thank you, thank you. I just sharing like how you contributing and what is the benefit. Let's say in Africa with OGBA Foundation, from World Talent Economy Forum and School of Talent Economy, we are taking their classes. They are also utilizing World Talent Economy Forum content, School of Talent Economy content for their English language developments, as well as for their higher studies. We are also helping them and supporting them for getting scholarships and other things. This is the way we are getting to the youth communities, because they are the futures. And I believe the climate financing, or whatever the financing, the developed nation actually contributing. I know this is your hard-earned money. This is your tax pay. You pay your tax to the government, and the government actually distribute. But our objective, how you actually distribute your tax paying money, as well as effective way. Yes, World Talent Economy Forum, everything we run by our own fund, but we are very much interested of human development, and we are very much interested on academia, because if we have a proper knowledge for this kind of youth, they will change their community. If they have a proper education, then they will change their own community. It's not in Africa, in Asia Pacific, in India, in South Asia, everywhere we are developing our channel. So hopefully we will change millions of people life with your contribution. These discussions, ultimately they will develop their case studies, and they will understand what's going on, that the developed nations, and they will change their life. So Mr. James, you also have keen interest to contribute for human development, and financing is very important. And most important is that, like, transparent financing for for these developed nations. What is your view? How we can develop a effective system for these issues? What is your guideline?
Well, first off, Sharif, I want to thank you for having me on, having this discussion, and also for what you're doing. You're trying to help with the. I just tip of the hat to you for trying to educate people about this subject, because I think one of the keys is education, and it doesn't imply intelligence or lack thereof. It implies knowledge, and you have to be aware that there are people that are trying to persuade you rather than inform you. So you have to show some discernment about your sources of information. There are people that are trying to tell you that climate change is not a problem, are the people that are trying to persuade you. The people who are trying to help you understand what we're going to do about it are the people who are trying to inform you. So start with that as your basic assumption, because it's a fact, and we don't want to have opinions rule facts, and we don't want to be listening to people who are just trying to persuade us to believe what they want us to. But there is another economic impact that is real, and that's jobs. People say, I need jobs. So if they work for a fossil fuel industry and you're trying to say, hey, stop putting money into it, they're afraid. And we never make our best decisions based out of fear. So what we want to do is frame this question instead of doing this job, do this other job. So we want to put our taxpayer dollars into creating jobs that are good for the climate, as well as the economy, as well as the individual. So, would you rather go dig in the earth and mine ore, or would you rather work on the earth, in the fresh air, on solar panels? So I think if you put the choice to them that way, they would say, yeah, I could go into the ground and get black lung disease and have a shortened lifespan, or I can work above the ground and, help the planet, and get paid the same. Wow, that would be a good choice. That would be a good choice to offer people. So it's not that we're taking jobs away. It's that we're creating new jobs to replace the old jobs. The old jobs were ineffective, inefficient, and poisoning our atmosphere. The new jobs will help clean our atmosphere, and you will still have an income that will provide you shelter from the storm, food, and water. But now when we're talking food and water is becoming scarcer. When we're paying for water, when I can sell water to other people rather than grow almonds, what has the world come to? This is our reality. We must face reality, not fiction, not what people want you to believe, but what's actually happening. And selling water rights is going to become more and more a part of our reality. Now, we have some of our capitalist countries are based on income, making money. Well, you cannot drink money. And there's a big fad now, or not necessarily a fad, a shift into cryptocurrency. Well, you can't drink cryptocurrency. Water is life. So water is precious in a way that money is not. But we have to do things like provide jobs. So if I'm growing up today, I would say, I would like to be in the water purification industry. Water purification needs to be replacing fossil fuel, digging into the earth for oil, digging into the earth for coal. These are the jobs that got us into this mess. Water purification are the types of jobs that are going to get us out of the mess. Because what we have now is water that is toxic. Water where we can move to places that have pure water, but they're getting scarcer. So there will be less and less affordable to move to those places. So what about places that have water that has been polluted? Clean up the pollution, purify the water, and then it's livable again. But what about drought? And I loved what Paul said about the military. Redefine the what you're defending against, because you cannot bomb drought. You cannot shoot bullets at hurricanes. You cannot take military action against a flood, but you can help build dams. You can help build structures that can prevent the damage to the towns, to the villages, to the cities. What's going on in Chicago right now is unbelievable because Lake Michigan has seen these crests and troughs, and Chicago was built on swampland. And so the construction of Chicago on this area is now threatened because the troughs cause one sort of problem and the crests cause another. And this is where we can get into statistics, and statistics can be used by very intelligent people, and they sound very persuasive. But you have to ask yourself, what is this statistic? Because people will deny climate change's effect because they will take the average temperature. And they say, well, the average temperature hasn't changed all that much. So this is all much ado about nothing. But the average temperature is not important because we're seeing extremes. And that's what's causing the severe weather patterns, the extremes. And the melting of the Arctic ice causing the disruption of the jet stream. This is what's causing it, the crests and the troughs and the jet stream. And so we're having like this idea of heat domes where the heat comes and stays. It doesn't move along. The jet stream used to push it away. No, it comes and stays. And you have long periods of drought, long periods where crops wither and die. And then you have another extreme, a trough, where the rain patterns are unbelievably extreme and they cause flooding. And the Arctic ice melting causes the seas, the oceans themselves to rise. So which beachfront property is now not so habitable as it used to be. The seas are rising. The hurricanes are coming with more severity than ever before. So, we have these once in 500 years events happening more regularly now. They're not so astounding to see because they are the extremes that have become the norm. So when you're starting, think of jobs that will work for the planet. And you have to ask yourself, not what can the planet do for me, but what can I do for the planet? So invest in jobs. And if you're starting a company, if you're going to employ others, if you're an entrepreneur and you want to start a company, start it in something that will help the planet. And water purification is only one example of the many opportunities that are out there. Just think differently. Don't let the past be your guide. The past got us into this mess. Think differently. Come up with novel solutions to novel problems. And I think we can do it. I'm an optimist. I think what's the worst of humanity can be fixed by what's the best of humanity. And thanks again, Sharif, for this wonderful topic.
Thank you, Mr. Jeff. As you are representing the youth communities, we just personally, me, I want to learn from you that what is the youth demand, what they think about climate change, and what type of action they want to take. I know there are many brilliant people and talent people. That's why we put this name talent economy around the world we have. So how do you want to share your views as a climate
Right.
activist? Yeah.
I mean, we can talk about it all we want. I'm not
Hmm.
going to be a hypocrite. I don't grow my own food, no solar
Hmm.
panels or any of that. I don't know if any of you guys do, but that's something I've been trying to get into the past couple of years. Some of my friends have started their own growing their own tomatoes and all these other things, and it's really lovely. And they're just so happy doing it. I think a lot of money that we can put needs to be towards all these influencers on social media, but the money needs to be put towards incentivizing and promoting people in a healthy lifestyle who do their own gardening and yeah, and because it's all gonna start with the lifestyle, and then people are gonna see how great it is, and yeah, I gotta start doing it more myself. So yeah,
Hmm.
that's basically what I'm thinking about.
Thank you, Mr. Paul. Yes, we have many youth, many climate change activists like you. You are contributing for developing a better community, but still there is a huge amount of people. It's untouched, especially for COVID-19. Many people actually losing job. Many people actually, even many people actually died, and they go for suicidal attempt, and many things happening which is negative. How actually the global community, those who are activists like you, because you have good intention, you are not running behind the corporations, you are running behind society. So how the global community we can work together? World Talent Economy Forum, we are doing our best with our limited capacity, because we are very small, we are not big organization, we are small, we have our limitation. But with our limitation we are trying our level best. Even for the students, those who joining with us, it's not only they will do study here, even for their employment already we engage with few startup, those who can create more job opportunities. They engage with World Talent Economy Forum, but it's not enough. We have to work together, we have to work hard, because the world is moving a tremendous problem. Even in the COVID-19 situation today, even Malaysia, 153 people died. It's a full of hospital is full. There is no places for the patient in the hospital. I know without treatment, many people died. In intensive care unit, we do not have enough oxygen. So the world is moving, even though there are trillion of dollar asset around the world, but the world moving with a tremendous problem. How we can work together, how we can develop a better communities, how we can put all of our good people's energy in the same place to solve the humanitarian problem.
Well, I think today, or up to now, the emphasis of the grassroots and young people is, it's like basically the consider themselves like the good guys versus the sort of evil corporations that are destroying the planet. So, that it's one way to push corporations to do much better from the outside. But another route that is probably more effective is to um, infiltrate, I'll say, for lack of a better word right now, the corporations. All corporations, corporate structure needs to be changed, and it's slowly happening, but I think it could be accelerated. So all corporations, have a CEO, chief executive officer, a CFO, chief financial officer, and all of these different designations. And it's really time that, whether by law or whether by public pressure, corporations need to have a chief climate officer, or I would say, you can't, or chief environmental officer, but that acronym is CEO, already taken by the chief executive officer. So how about CCO, chief climate officer? And that division, or there should be a department within each corporation on their environmental footprint and how they're going to change moving forward in making the world better to adapt and mitigate climate change. So, and that department or group should have to should basically have a cross section of people that are being affected by climate change. Should have a youth section where, instead of climate activists doing their work for nothing, for free, because for their concern over the planet, they should have paid positions within corporations to do surveys of people within corporations, to find out, to basically to analyze, what the corporations are doing, what their worst environmental impacts are, and how have a plan, how do other people create a plan to carry that corporation to be a much more environmentally friendly place. So I don't know if it's going to happen through on its own. So I think it's up to the governments to mandate such positions and have reports, maybe quarterly reports. Whenever they have a quarterly report come out to the stockholders, etc., there should be a time, in that conference call with the people that rate the company and the stocks, the investors, the shareholders, etc. They need a section on their environmental footprint and their, be exposed when bad practices are being made. And so it should become a mandatory reporting thing. So it's up to the Securities and Exchange regulators that look, that set the rules on these things to make changes to so that these reports are done, on a quarterly basis. And so basically change the companies. The companies can change from within. Often when there's pressure applied by grassroots on companies, they get defensive. They put up their walls. They get into their fort. They just see, it's us versus them sort of mentality. So, in all wars, the spy that is inside the fort, can can bring in people and at least report and expose what the company is doing. But there needs to be internal departments in every company, as mandated by the securities regulators, so that the corporations can change. Because most people are not evil, right? My mom used to always tell me growing up, most people are good, but there's always those people. There's always a 5% or whatever you call it in society, which I think it's become clear that 5% maybe of humanity are actually psychopaths. So, in other words, they have no empathy for other people, and they have no empathy or feelings for the planet. All they want to do is just make money and gain power, right? So those people tend to gravitate to running companies, and this is just because they're more ruthless and they're willing to take more. Their thinking is completely focused on how do I control the company, how do I make more money, how do I get more power, and the way our society is set up, we don't have ways to stop these people at the moment. But that can change. I mean, people's personalities can be checked before they get above a certain level within a company. Is this if a person's a psychopath, then put them on something, make them, use their psychopathic sort of talents, if you like, to do something that is not going to harm the entire company, or not going to change the direction of the entire company to being just a big polluter, etc. So the using the latest in human psychology, and I don't need to mention the biggest, most infamous, if you like, or famous, depending on whether you're in the Republican Party or outside the Republican Party, psychopath in the world. Narcissistic, ruthless psychopath, but also with this evil genius that has allowed him to just dominate for much of his life and accumulate, vast riches beyond what anybody can imagine, right? Whether through, not through, legal means in all cases, right? So we need to, we understand a lot about human behavior, right? So we need to apply it in a good way, not in a bad way. Unfortunately, there are companies that are doing all of the data mining and so on, and they're using this against people. They understand people more than people understand themselves, and they can target advertising or election messaging or whatever to people to get them to do a certain thing, to manipulate people. And so there's always, with any technology, there's always a good side and a bad side. And often when the technology first comes out, it's the bad side that takes off first and is used and abused. And then, it takes time for the good side to come and catch up. So, if we know how things work, like, which is, then we can actually, figure out how to change things so that we can survive the climate issue. We can actually get things done and change corporations to do the right thing instead of just killing the planet with their pollution.
Thank you, Mr. Jamsid. What do you want to add? Because Professor Paul gave an excellent analysis on the process, especially corporate culture and the social ecosystem, how it works. What is your observation?
Well, first off, I want to thank you again, Sharif. And Paul, that's wonderful what I've just heard. And I've been taking notes. I've ran out of space to take further notes. And I can't even read the ones I've already taken. But these are really important points, because our corporations are a legal construct. They're not people. And corporations have been trained to deliver to the bottom line to investors that all they cared about is the money, the bottom line. And so there's pressure on these corporations. It's not necessarily all evil. There are people that just have pressure on them to deliver these quarterly statements that show a profit. So we've been driven by profit. And now we need to be driven by something else. And instead of pursuing our self-interest, we need to be pursuing our enlightened self-interest. So how do we train people to focus on the enlightened self-interest, which means the impact on your society, on your local community? And do you lead a life that you can be proud of? Instead of all these people living lives of quiet desperation, allow them to live lives of quiet dignity. So you're not using your tools, your assets, the skill set that you have to damage the planet, to damage the environment, to damage your community, but to help it. And then you will feel better about yourself. So you start with yourself. So if your skill set allows you to get a law degree, and when I'm talking to the youth of America, you're making your life choices now, and you're just good at law. Well, don't look for a job from a giant corporation that is poisoning the planet. Look for a job that is going to be more green in nature. And then maybe they'll sneer at you because they're making more money, but you will be happier. You will live a life that is fulfillment. And fulfillment of what you can do, putting your assets, your skill set to work for the good of society will give you more than those people living lives of quiet desperation, accumulating more wealth, more cars, more yachts, more of this, more of that, material things. They will never feel that fulfillment. I can guarantee you this. I've seen this over and over and over. They just end up wanting more. And Paul told us a little bit about a pathological liar, a narcissistic personality that we elected to be president of the United States. And we narrowly escaped re-electing him. 70 million people voted for him. Now, this is the guy who took us out of the Paris Accords. Sharif, you posted the Paris Accords, what they're doing. It's so positive. It's so good for the planet. This guy took us out of them. So we barely squeaked by getting a president who joined it again. So these are the types of things. This is a fight we're in, people. This is not something you can sit back and just watch going on. You've got to get in the game. And and when I grew up, I was in part of the Vietnam era, and we were protest minded. Certainly, I carried a sign that said "Make love, not war" before I had done either one of them. So these are the things that you can do as a young person. But the protest is not enough because it causes an us versus them mentality. So work on yourself, develop a skill set, whether it's water purification, where it's legal, whether it's whatever it is that you're good at. Engineering, man, we need more engineers, people that can actually make things that will help. Technology, get into technology if that's your mindset. Or if you're good at accounting. Everybody needs accountants, and corporations will pay you more, but get involved with a green organization. A company that is making things good for the planet will hire you for your accounting abilities, whatever you're good at. But don't look for the thing that will pay you the most money. Look for the thing that will allow you to help the planet the most. These are the things that I want to communicate to the youth of the world today, because we believed when we were protesting against the Vietnam War that we could change society. And I still believe that. It's up to the youth to change the society. And don't complain about the mess that we left you. Clean it up. That's your job now. So, take this to heart. It is your planet. You're inheriting our mess. Clean it up. Don't blame. And don't just protest. Get involved. Train yourself first to have the skill set, and then find the employment aspects that are consistent with your value system. You don't want to poison the planet. You don't want to vote for people who are going to look the other way and allow corporations to poison the planet. So use your vote, use your skill set. These are the things that you can do. There are jobs out there, and they're getting more of them. And if you're just a stockholder, stop investing in the fossil fuel industry. That will get them to stand up and pay attention. Start investing in plant-based companies and things that are replacing meat, because meat is part of the problem. We have raised this cattle, and then we slaughter them, and then we eat them. Yet their effect on the production of methane and what it goes into the atmosphere is significant. And it takes a lot of land that could be used to grow plant-based crops instead of animal-based food. So invest in those types of companies that are doing it. And you can make a lot of money doing that. So if your just goal is to invest in things that will make you money, but add on to that an enlightened point of view. Invest, make money, not against making money, but with an enlightened point of view, which is what is good for society. Not just good for me, good for society as well. Because you can do both. You can make money to put a roof over your head, to feed your family, and you can be helping the planet. So why not do both? That is my challenge to you out there. And I love the idea of getting involved in a corporation and changing the corporation from within. This can be done. But I think that that it's a really important topic to think about the people who are striving for the most power. These are the people to be wary of. And we have to have regulations in place to change the nature of the reward system. And I think the quarterly reports that are just giving you the bottom line, there should be a column that says environmental impact. So shareholders should be paying attention to that. And so they can see just on a quarterly report, not just what the bottom line is, what the numbers say, but also, did we do well for the planet or did we do badly for the planet? And that would give me information, not just data. Data is not information. Data has to be massaged properly. So the data that says, I've made you money is different from the data that says, I've made you money and I've done good for the planet. This is the information that we need. We talk about educating ourselves, but we also need the data that's informing us. Don't give me the average of the global climate temperature. Give me the extreme weather patterns. That's information. Tell me about the droughts, the flooding, the hurricanes, the natural, what we used to think of just natural disasters are now man-made disasters. Connect the dots. Educate yourself. So acquire the skill set that will be helpful to society, and then use that to influence others. Start with yourself, influence others. And they will influence others beyond that. Who knows where it'll end. And maybe we can meet this challenge. Thank you again, Sharif.
Thank you, Mr. James. Mr. Jeffs, what do you want to add?
Yeah, absolutely. Anyone who's watching or does watch this, there are resources like on YouTube. You can grow thousands of dollars of microgreens, superfoods, fungus in your own house. There are so many resources. You can just look at through what I've been trying to do. Sell them to your friends, sell them to your neighbors. You can completely 99% of the people I know, they don't care about voting. They don't care about political agendas. They care about, like you were saying, the enlightenment. Going back to the earth, music, stuff like that. And one of the things I've been researching is like permaculture. I don't know if you guys have heard of that. Where you basically it's basically about creating a forest that takes care of itself by setting it up properly. The one plant creates this that takes care of another plant that takes care of this plant takes care of another plant. So once you set it up, it can keep growing. You don't have to take care of it. Creates a lot of food. Then there's also, like you're saying, learn engineering. Been watching this one dude, super smart, who can basically generate electricity with like magnets and gravity induced like compression stuff that Nikola Tesla was doing. And all the information is there on the internet now for free. And it's time that we start incentivizing it as rapidly as we can, so that people do take that extra step and starting their own garden, buying a solar panel or whatever, learning how to water, stuff like that, and not just relying on the government or corporations to take care of them.
Thank you. Thank you for today's discussions. I directly want to go for the concluding remarks for today. I request everyone share our content as much as possible. We have two sites and which is 100% free. One is World Talent Economy Forum. From here, you can get all of our different guests from around the world, those who contributing through their knowledge. So you can get it from World Talent Economy Forum. From School of Talent Economy, you get some academic views. Let's say on climate change, we already take a class on climate change in School of Talent Economy. So both of the place you can like observe as well as you can share our content. It's 100% free. And beside that, we are trying to develop this undergraduate, masters, and PhD program, uh, as well as we are engaging with the corporations and the governments to solve a different kind of unemployment problem as well as climate change related things and different kind of things. So hopefully your collaborations actually help us a lot. Your knowledge, your contributions actually come like helpful for all of the global community, especially in the developing nations. So this is the way we can grow together. We can minimize the gap in between developed nations and developing nations. So thank you for all of your contribution for World Talent Economy Forum. Professor Paul, what do you want to add today as a concluding remarks?
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you, Sharif, again for running these sessions and for widely disseminating the information. I think don't believe anybody that tells you or says we just don't have the money in our society to make these changes, because it's not a matter of have. First of all, money won't have any meaning if there's no society. And our society is going down the tubes because of extreme weather events and abrupt climate change. And those are threat multipliers. They're affecting every aspect of human life, and are going to take out our food supply simultaneously enough in different countries to cause a global famine in the near future. And then havoc will be wreaked on the planet. People need to eat. So lacking food, when there's shortages of food, things just completely break apart. Geopolitical conflicts accelerate, et cetera, et cetera. So um, I think our hope, I think, is that saying that these things are in the pipeline, and this is what we're going to face, will allow people of goodwill to step up in positions of power and make changes and get information out so that we avoid the worst of these things. We can shave off some of the worst things. So um, one of the things that I'm wondering about, just on a practical level, is I have my channel, paulbeckwith.net, my blog, and my YouTube channel. And I also do videos with a group called the Climate Emergency Forum. If you just Google Climate Emergency Forum, we do a video a week, with panels, and we're always looking for guests on that. And there's Facing Future, a group called Facing Future is another group you can look at, and the Scientist Warning is yet another one. So there's all of these different groups, and with my videos, like I'm very happy, when doing an exchange with any other group. For example, with you, Sharif. I mean, if you particularly liked one of my videos, you can take the raw video and you can edit it if you want, or you can take clips from you could do a video by taking a number of my videos, which you thought warranted it, and took chunks or clips out of it, and then posted it as a video on World Economic Forum. And if I figure out the technique or technology, then I could take one of your videos, for example, this one, your hour-long video, and I could post it directly on my channel, and then it would go to the idea would be that many viewers that watch your World Economic Talent Forum, and people that watch mine, I mean, they don't know
Yes.
about each other. And same with Climate Emergency Forum, or if James puts out a video or something, right? To sort of get the cross, so that we each benefit. You know, we it's a synergy thing where, you know, we each benefit, and people have become more aware of all the different forums that are available. So it's just something to think about. I mean, you're very welcome. Like, anybody is very welcome to take one of my videos and just post it up on their channel, you know, just with acknowledgement. That's all. You know, there's no copyright or anything with my work. So, yeah.
Yeah,
Just a
thank you.
thought.
Thank you. We are sharing your YouTube channel. Definitely, we are sharing your YouTube channel. Definitely, any of your good idea, we are open for that, and we will discuss particular points. Even if you want to arrange any kind of session like group discussion, definitely we will join in your session. So this is Mr. Paul YouTube channel. So I'm sure this is very informative and very helpful for the global communities. Thank you, Mr. Jamsit. What's your concluding remarks today?
Hi, Sharif. If we could take down the share screen, I'd appreciate it. Thanks. So basically, what we're talking about is scarcity, and scarcity of food, scarcity of water, scarcity of inhabitable land. And so what we've seen, and this is not the first time, you know, we remember London fog was like, I think it was like breathing pea soup is what they called it. And so what did the rich do? The rich moved away. But the people who couldn't afford to move away suffered. So now this has happened in the past, but it's accelerating now. So what we're doing is finding less and less habitable places. And the people that are encouraging us to build walls to keep out those that are in inhabitable land from invading the land that is still habitable, these are the people that are not the solutions. These are the people that are causing conflict, because the people that can't live where they're living will go over or through your walls to get to where they can live. And we call these people immigrants right now. And immigrants are not the problem. They're leaving places that they can no longer live in. And we have to be welcoming. We have to tear down these walls and build bridges instead. And this is part of each society has to own this. We're part of the planet. We're all one species. So if you have habitable land, you know, allow people to come in and join you, but work to make more land habitable. This is the way that we're going to eventually solve the problems. And tear down these walls. Don't build more. We have too many already. And to throw up your hands and say, I can't be a part of it, it's too big a problem for me, then you're just another brick in the wall. So you find out what you can do. Acquire the skill set that you need to be employable by those that are doing the good work, and follow not just your self-interest, which is really nothing but selfishness, but your enlightened self-interest. And your enlightened self-interest realizes that you're part of a community. And when you're part of a community, you're never really alone. So change yourself, change your community, and who knows where the change will end. We can change society. And ask not what society can do for you, but what can you do for society? And if you don't have a skill set now, acquire it. Whether it's a legal skill set, it's an accounting skill set, an engineering skill set, whatever you're good at, find out what you're good at. And then acquire that skill set, and then find the people that will pay you money so that you can live, to have a roof over your head. And do I have an electric car? Yes. Do I have a solar panel? Yes. But there are people that don't have homes at all. So solar panels are not the solution for them. So there needs to be solar power to provide to them if they cannot produce it themselves. And I love the idea of, you know, grow your own microgreens and then sell them to your community. That's a great way to do it. And if you're an entrepreneur, start a company that solves a problem, that doesn't prey on others to sell them what they don't want, let alone need. You know, there are plenty of people that will do that. Donald likes to call them snake oil salesmen. You know, they'll sell you something that won't cure you, it won't help you, but it'll give them money and take money from you. There are people like that, but you know, whether it's 5% or 6% or 4%, I don't care. You know, but there is a portion of the people that are like that. and stop rewarding them. Stop falling for their con. And think about the people that are telling you what's really going on and pay attention to them. But also, don't look for people my age to solve the problems, and don't elect officials that are my age, because our thinking was formed in the 20th century, and these are 21st problems. So activate the youth. The youth, it's so demoralizing to me to hear that youth doesn't care about voting. That leaves people like me have a bigger voice than you, and who's going to be the leaders of our countries. And we have a disproportionate voice, and our thinking was formed in the 20th century. So get active. Maybe it's politics that your skill set is in. Maybe you're the one who can lead. Maybe leadership is your skill set. And then get people to vote for you. Use your vote, your voice. Use what you have to make a difference, to make a change. And I don't care if you say, well, all politicians are bad. Change it. Don't accept it. Change it. Get involved. Get your voice heard. Activate your voice, your community. Get them to vote for the people that are telling you the truth, that are going to help us make the changes that the society needs. So don't be another brick in the wall. Make a difference. Thanks again, Sharif. Wonderful topic. Learned a lot already. Always learn something from your show. Thanks again.
Thank you. We have our another conference next week, 28 to 30 July. This is very special conference. It's on smart cities, post-pandemic visions and challenges. So hopefully we will get a lot of interesting information, and I request everyone, because as all of our content we are utilizing for academic purpose, for industrial purpose. So we expect that our speaker brings some presentations, some statistics, data, and beside this open dialogue, we want to utilize more data, information, because when we utilizing different research paper, data and information, it will be more helpful for our student, especially for undergraduate, masters and PhD level, because we are working with more mature level people. So it can be helpful for them. So in the Smart City Conference, I request everyone, those who join as a speaker, please bring your presentation for 10 minutes. Even from now, like our discussion, we want to more based on scientific evidence, based on informations, because it will be very helpful for us for developing a knowledge-based community. Thank you, Mr. James and Mr. Paul. And what the concluding remarks from Mr. Jeff for today?
I thank you guys. Yeah, we talked about a lot of good stuff. Like I said, I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I'm trying to do this stuff and implement what I'm not doing right now. Yeah, like you're saying, solar power is definitely the way to go.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. Please finish. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, I'm just gonna try to, keep, embodying the lifestyle that we need to make the changes, for my own garden, whatever. I'm gonna try to hold myself accountable. I want everyone online to hold me accountable too. There are ways to generate electricity, freely, solar power, other stuff like that. So I'm gonna be doing my best to figure that out and share it with everybody. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, everyone. Mr. Paul, thank you, Mr. James Sid and Mr. Jeff for joining today's session. I request all of our audience share our content as much as possible with your government, with your academy, with your corporate ecosystem. Hopefully through this process, we can learn from each other, and we need more good speakers. So Mr. Paul, Mr. James Sid, Mr. Jeff, if any of your friends and colleagues, climate change activists, scientists, politicians, corporate persons, those who want to join, even people from Hollywoods and anywhere they want to join in World Talent Economy Forum initiative. We are open for that. And I'm sure your contributions will change millions of people's life, especially for the grassroots level people, because they need more of your support, more of your contributions. It's not in Asia Pacific, around the world, we love to contribute. So thank you for joining today's session. Bye bye and take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.